Okay, good afternoon. Sorry for the delay. So we thought we were going to do these downstairs and there'd be 10 people. So there's a million people in this room. I'm Jason Roy. I'm the high school and middle school technology coordinator here at ASB, and we're going to start off. We're going to talk about personalized learning today, and this is going to start really low tech. Right? So we're going to play a game called NIM, and I'll tell you the story about it later. So here on the wall we have. This is a really easy game. We've got 7 blue chips in the top row, and then in this row we have 5 blue chips. I just made this game 5 minutes ago. And then in the bottom row we have 3. So who would like to play? All right, you can play. All right, you can all work together. What's your name? Yeah, Clint. Have you played this game before? All right, excellent. So the object of the game is to take away the last chip. Okay, and you can take chips from any row that you want. So do you want to come up here, or do you want me to do both? All right. So do you want to go first or me?
You go first. That's fine.
All right, I'll go first. Okay, I'll take one off the top. This is a one-time use game.
Can I take as many as I want?
Yeah, you can take as many as you want from one row.
I want to leave the last one.
Well, whoever takes the last one wins. Or the last ones. So we're taking 2 off the top. All right. I'm gonna be stuck. I'll take 1 off the bottom. Both off the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna take 1 from here. And now I'm breathing. I'm like relaxed now. Okay, Clint, what are you going to do? Okay, what am I going to do? What? Take 4 off the top? All right, I'll take 3 off the top. Right. All right, good job. I'll take 1 off the bottom. I win.
Want a rematch?
All right, so that game is called NIM, and I'll talk about it in a little bit. So, personalized learning. So, yes.
Can you repeat today's meet? Back channel? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's todaysmeet.com, ASB Personal. So, and if you ask questions on todaysmeet.com, if you put your email address, I can try to get back to you. Maybe I'll like write up a Google Doc or something and get back to everybody at once. Okay, so I don't know if have you all been to 7 of these before? Do you know what the R&D team is by now?
Yeah.
All right, so let's just keep going. So our path in the personalized learning committee is to first figure out like why personalized learning do we want to, is this something that we want to do here at ASB? And then come up with a definition of it. Then what we've done after that is found examples of personalized learning here at school. And then I'll tell you the next steps that my group is going to take. So John Dewey said ages ago that, and I'll try to keep the text off the slides later on, the subject matter of education consists of bodies of information and skills that have been worked out in the past. Therefore, the chief business of the school is to transmit them to a new generation. So this has been what education's been for, the last 100 years or so, and it doesn't. This is sort of what we're trying to get away from when we talk about personalized learning. Okay, here's a short clip of Ken Robinson.
I believe fundamentally, as many speakers have said during the past few days, that we make very poor use of our talents. Very many people go through their whole lives having no real sense of what their talents may be, or if they had any to speak of. I meet all kinds of people who don't think they're very good at anything. Actually, I kind of divide the world into 2 groups now. Jeremy Bentham, the great utilitarian philosopher, once spiked this argument. You know, he said there are two types of people in this world: those who divide the world into two types, and those who do not. Well, I do. And I meet all kinds of people who don't enjoy what they do. They simply go through their lives getting on with it. They get no great pleasure from what they do. They endure it rather than enjoy it and wait for the weekend. But I also meet people who love what they do and couldn't imagine doing anything else. If you said to them, don't do this anymore, they'd wonder what you're talking about. Because it isn't what they do, it's who they are. They say, but this is me. You know, it would be foolish for me to abandon this because it speaks to my most authentic self. And it's not true of enough people. In fact, on the contrary, I think it's still true of a minority of people. And I think there are many possible explanations for it. And high among them is education. Because education, in a way, dislocates very many people from their natural talents. And human resources are like natural resources. They're often buried deep. You have to go looking for them. They're not just lying around on the surface. You have to create the circumstances where they show themselves. And you might imagine education will be the way that happens, but too often it's not.
Okay, so when I saw that, this book is a couple years old, and when I saw that piece again this fall, it really spoke to me for a number of reasons that I'm not going to get into all of them. But I think so. What he, you know, it's clear what he's saying, and it's something that we strive to do here at ASB. It's written in our mission statement, right? Our mission statement says we inspire all our students to continuous inquiry, empower them with skills, courage, and optimism to pursue their dreams and enhance the lives of others. So two pieces here: continuous inquiry and pursuing their dreams. For me, that means personalized learning, kids going out and exploring things that they're interested in. So what I want you to do right now is we're going to take a break for 2 minutes. Just turn to your neighbor, and I want you to talk about a time where you were engaged in something that you were really interested in learning, and share that with them. And we'll have a couple of you report back. And think about how you felt during that time.
You didn't have to
so it's good. Does anybody feel like sharing their story? No. All right. Well, all right. I'm really pretty nerdy and really geeky, so I could share like 5 nerdy stories, but I'll just share one. So in 8th grade math, first day of school, Miss Bracey takes up, NIM on the chalkboard, and at the end of Algebra 1 or the middle of Algebra 1, and says, "If does anybody want to play?" And so, yeah, hand goes up. I want to play NIM, and she, it's a slaughter, right? She beats me. There's no way I can win at this game. So, thanks, Clint. So I go to the library and look up. Somehow I found NIM in the card catalog. Well, no, but I looked up like math in the card catalog, and I found the math section, and then I went back to that part of the library, and they had this book by Martin Gardner about mathematical games, and in the back of the book there's a chapter about NIM, and so I took the book home, and then I wrote a book actually called How to Beat Miss Bracey at NIM, and then I brought it to math class a week and a half or maybe 2 weeks later, and towards the end of the class I said, "Hey, Miss Bracey, how about if we play NIM today?" And she knew she was in trouble, and so I beat her, and she tried to change the game up a little bit, but it didn't matter because I studied it. And so for me, like, that was an example of personalized learning, because it didn't take, you think so? It didn't take the whole class time, but she just interjected this little bit into math class that got me really fired up about algebra and about mathematical games, and so I've been learning this stuff ever since, and it was just awesome. And so that's, when I think about personalized learning, that's one of the things that I remember. Fish, is there anything we can do about the sound up here? Probably not. All right, so we wrote this working definition in our task force. Personalized learning is instruction designed to teach all students how to become continuous inquirers, providing them ample opportunities to initiate, design, and complete a course of learning free from predetermined learning outcomes. I gave this presentation in front of the board like a month ago, and everything was good until we got here, free from predetermined learning outcomes, and then there were gasps on faces and things. So what we mean by this is not that we want to throw away standards or we don't think standards are important. We absolutely think that standards are important, but we want to have some space in our classes for some personalized learning. So some learning that students can do without a predetermined learning outcome. Because if we're doing a project and I know exactly what the kids are going to find out at the end of the project, then it seems sort of silly if I always know what they're going to learn at the end of the project. I want to do things where at the end the kids are going to shock me and learn things that I didn't think that they were going to learn, or they're going to make connections in different ways that are unusual. So they were okay after I talked about it a little bit more. Okay, I have a couple examples of some personalized learning things we've done at school, from lower grades all the way through upper grades. So this is Mataran. It's a hill station a couple hours to the north of here, and there's all kinds of water there. And so one of the third graders was in Mataran, and he decided that he was really interested in water. So I have a quote from his mom. Alex's first curiosity project was about natural springs. He was inspired in part by his father, who's a water engineer, so that might have had something to do with it too. And also by the natural springs in the hill station of Mataran, where we have a holiday home. He had lots of questions, wanted to ask and find answers to, such as, how are springs formed? How and why does the water come out clean? Is it safe to drink? How does the water get there in the first place? This led on to further inquiry based around water and how water is treated to make it safe to drink. During the research phase of the project, Alex visited the springs in Mataran, took photographs, water samples, drew sketches, asked experts in the field of water, his dad and a geologist, one of his friends' dads. For each big question, he came up with his own hypothesis, and then he set about finding evidence to either prove or disprove his theory. He collated all the information he had gathered and provided a conclusion of his findings. One of his wonderings about how water is treated even culminated in him making his own sand filter. At the end of the research stage, students were asked to share their learning with their peers and faculty members. And I've done some research on this water project, and it's really true. Like, this kid is a water maniac now, and people go to Mataran, and he takes them out to the springs and shows them his filter and teaches them all about water. And it's because he got to design this project for himself and really get engaged in it. All right, let's move up through the grades. All right, so in middle school, one of the things we do, personalized learning, is Readers Writers Workshop, and we've just, it's an old idea, but it connects. So up in the middle school, all the middle schools doing this now. There's about 1,000 books in each middle school classroom, and kids get to read the books they want. They don't have to all read the same book and be on the same page of the yearling on the 17th day of school, and they collaborate and write about their reading on Google Docs. And it's pretty neat. I don't know if anybody got to see that today up in the middle school. Okay, a high school science teacher just finished doing this, a project-based learning lesson where she integrated chemistry and biology, and I think there's a presentation about this tomorrow. But basically, kids had to learn about how cell membranes work, how the cell membrane structure works. And so these guys did a project where they learned about what happens to a Snickers bar when you eat it. And so they made this incredible video that I'm not going to show you about a Snickers bar like traveling through the body, and you can see all the different places it goes, and it's pretty disgusting. And they integrated film from some other websites of it. And so what happened is at the end of the presentation, they ended up learning so much more than they would have if they just had, day one, let's learn about the stomach, day two, let's learn about the pancreas, and so on. And then finally, a quote from an IB history teacher about a student. Jai chose to investigate the extent to which the system of Athenian democracy in the 5th century BCE relied on slavery to function. He was motivated by a deep and genuine interest in classical history and politics. It didn't matter to Jai that the knowledge gained through this study would not be transferable to the IB exams, which focus on contemporary world history. So again, we have a student in IB history who became fascinated with the Athenian democracy and he worked on it in 10th grade, and then he just kept working on it through his extended essay in 12th grade. And it didn't matter to him that it wasn't going to be on the test. So we think that personalized learning is the way to go, and we're going to promote it. We might have to change the name a little bit to something like self-directed learning. But so our next steps we have to do is formalize our case for it, create a continuum of personalized learning, and then share our results with ASB and move forward. If you have any links or anything that's handy that we could use about this topic, I'd really appreciate it if you put it on today's meet. And we have about 10 minutes if you have any questions for me. We're supposed to talk for like 10 minutes and then do questions. Clint.
Are you looking at sort of how, say, the net standards for students can be possibly your learning outcomes in terms of creativity and innovation, communication and collaboration, not necessarily linked to specific content in your classes, so they have the ability to explore wherever they want, but your expectations are more that they're able to do something with whatever it is that they want.
Yeah, so one of the things that we did last year on the TLT, which is the Technology Leadership Team, is we developed those different areas around 21st century skills like creativity and innovation and critical thinking, and we sort of tried to flesh them out into continuums for the different grade bands, and then also define what they each meant for ASB. And there's another group at school that is working on integrating that into all the subject areas. So yes, Clark?
How do you know it's scalable?
I don't know that it's scalable. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, how do we go from these fantastic stories to systemic schools?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're going to suggest is we're going to try to figure out ways to get teachers to integrate personalized learning into all of their classes. It doesn't need to be the entire class, but we think that we can interject it into every class, and that's one of the things that we're working on with our continuum. So if you take a test and you have 2 choices at the end of the test, that's not really personalized learning, right? But if you're doing some of the things that I showed, then that's further down the personalized learning continuum. It's not, and it's definitely not going to happen, tomorrow. Sure. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, true. But we want to integrate it more into what the kids do every day as well. And it's like the extended essay theoretically.
Had any conversations about what the faculty believe about children? We're making some assumptions that may be true for this faculty that this faculty may not believe.
So I think we have surveyed the faculty about the mission statement, and it's got unanimous support. That doesn't answer your question?
Not really. It seems that as we think about changes in teaching practice, they have to reflect changes in the way in which we think about children. Because teaching practice of this kind, let's imagine didactic teaching based on rote memorization, the worst stereotype possible, assumes that students of this kind of child, what you're talking about is something which is a very different belief about the nature of children.
I don't think that necessarily memorization needs to be completely separate from this sort of learning. I mean, in my math classes, I still make students memorize things, all the time, especially if they're preparing for an exam. So I think that you can learn, you can learn about things you're interested in, and then you learn about things that are going to, partially help you get ready for the next thing. And perhaps in my ideal world, we would just do, the left. But for now, I think I can, both of them can be balanced. It's a good question. Does anyone else have a question? So Brian is next, and he is going to talk about online learning. So you can stay, or you can shuffle to the next place you want to go.
There was a half hour in the day.
Yeah, I'll look at that today's week stream, and I'll try to respond to as many of you as I can in a reasonable amount of time.